Today we're going to be taste testing Tennent's lager on the perfect draft system. Many people say it's the worst one available. Well, we'll find out today. Well, if you've never had one of these perfect draft systems before, they're easy to use. I've got a video about how to put the keg on, connect it up, clean them, everything. So just have a look in the description below or just click the link on my channel, you'll be able to find them. However, just make sure that this is on securely, your line's in and you've got a nice clean line. We put it into the machine like so. Push that down to lock it in. Move your drip tray out the way first. It locks up. Then we can put that back and we're all set up to go. Right, now this Tennent's lager is, I don't know, there used to be only a couple of lagers available in the UK years ago. You could get Carlin and you could get Tennent's, right? Before all your continental stuff came along, this was all that was available. A lot of people used to drink bitter, mild, ales, that kind of thing. They were all around 3%, 3.5%. You get some good ales from different places around the country, 4%, 5%, even 6%. You go up to sort of barley wines, they were about 7%, 8%, stuff like that. But bitter didn't travel very well. They couldn't sort of get it to travel. So when lager came along, you could have a pint of Carlin in one pub, pint of Carlin in another pub, pint of Carlin anywhere. Even if people say it's an awful lager, it still tasted the same everywhere you went. Like a McDonald's Big Mac, you know, no matter where you go, what time of day or night it is, it's exactly the same in the same format. So lagers were a big change in the sort of brewing industry, I suppose, and also a big change in the drinking industry. I'm from like the Midlands, the Black Country, a heavy sort of drinking area really, or region. Everybody would be going out drinking 6, 7, 8 pints a night, and that's just what you did. You're drinking mild and bitter, it's flowing down, it's no bother, is it? It's like 3% or thereabouts. All of a sudden, these lagers come along. Here they are, some fizzy, cold, well, pop, as they used to say. You can have this, your kids, or they'd just give them half a lager and lime, or whatever it was. And it's actually stronger than the bitter and the mild they were drinking. And then, of course, when people started to drink this sort of stuff and drink it in volume, that's when you start to have a bit of a problem, because all of a sudden you're drinking so much more alcohol. But anyway, back to the Carlin and the Tennents, the only two you could get. Nobody had Stella, nobody had fancy lagers like we get on here, like the Spartan, the Jupiler, or the Mau, these beautiful lagers coming from all over the continent. We just didn't have access to them. So it's Carlin or Tennents. Now Carlin, that was the one, and it was in every pub you went into, every single pub. If you're my age, you can ask your dad if they're still around, elder relatives, they'll tell you Carlin was everywhere. That was the only thing. Then we had Tennents come along from Scotland, followed by the sort of Australian beers, Foster's, Castlemaine, 4X, and then from over the other side of the continent we had Heineken, Carlin, that sort of stuff. But the Heineken wasn't the Heineken we have today. The only way you could get that was buying Heineken Export, which gave you the 5%. The normal Heineken was 4%, if that, probably about 3.8, I think. So Tennents was sat there at 4% as a lager, cold, refreshing. You know, you're in the summer and you've got a pint of bitter. It's coming out there at cellar temperature, which is warmer in the summer than it is in the winter. So you only got these lagers coming out. All of a sudden, it was like, wow, we could have an ice cold drink any time of the year that we liked. Right, without further ado, let's get on and pour some out. There you go. Probably heard the machine pressurising. It does that when you're pouring a pint. Not every pint or half a pint, but every so often it does. Right, Tennent's lager in a nucleated glass. Now, if you've seen these videos of mine before, you heard me talk about it. We've got a nucleated glass. There's a little groove in the bottom there that traps the bubbles. Now, there doesn't seem a lot of carbonation in this. It seems it's not so fizzy as it should be. Now, you know that because when you get these kegs at home and you got the Phillips one like me, you're pouring it and sometimes you have a huge head on them. Now, for continental lagers, that's how they're served. You go over to Spain, Greece, wherever it is, they pour them in, huge head on, and then they scrape them off. That's it. Over here, we're used to having a pint glass and you want a pint of liquid, so you'd say, you know, put me a bit more in there, mate, and that's it, and you're back up towards the top again. Now, going back to the olden days, I've got a glass here, which is a Banksy's glass. Now, these Banksy's glasses, full pint guaranteed, they were oversized glasses. They were a third larger than the normal standard pint. So when we were in working men's clubs drinking this sort of stuff, they just put it under the tap, press it down. You didn't have a free flow tap like this. You pressed it once and it gave you half a pint, pressed it twice and it gave you a pint, and it was stood up there. And there was no arguing about whether you got a pint or not. The head could be that big. There was a pint of liquid in there. That's what it had dispensed. So that's it. But back to this. Now we're looking at that. That is lager without shadow of a doubt, isn't it? If you, no matter how old you are, you can recognise that as a pint of lager. Straw coloured, white head on there. Wow, boy, you know what that smells like? That's just transporting me back 30 years. Wow, right. That's quite phenomenal, actually. My goodness. Now, you probably don't get this these days. I don't know. I don't go to that many pubs, especially not early in the morning. But you used to walk into pubs and you got a beer type smell. Always. There was a beer type smell lingering in the pub. And that was the smell that you would get there. It was just... It was exactly that. That's what pubs used to smell like. You just imagine somebody sitting there with an ashtray and a cigarette and a pint of this on the bar or the table. But there you go. So that's what they look like. Now, it's cold. It's 3 degrees on there. It's been in here for a few days. I put this on a couple of days ago with best intentions of getting some down at the weekend. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So it rolls on a few days. And here we are. And I thought, well, we've got it in here. I'm going to film a video because people say it's the worst lager on the system. But I'm looking forward to this, you know. This was the lager. You couldn't get, well, you could get two other like this and another one, and that's it. This is what was available. So let's have a drink anyway. Wow, wow. Tennent's lager, that is the same now as it was 30 years ago. That is phenomenal, really. Absolutely phenomenal. I can't believe it. That is a time machine right there. I've just been transported back. I'm stood in a working men's club, my dad and my granddad, and my dad's having a pint of bitter. My granddad, he was knocking on a bit, so he was on the lager because it was lighter than drinking bitter, and I was allowed half a lager or whatever it was, you know, and that's what it tasted like. That is what it tasted like. My goodness, it really is. That's nice. That's nice. You know, that, all right, it's not got the flavour or the strength of the Stella. It's not a premium lager like the Jupiler or the Spartan. But for 4% lager from Scotland in a keg at home, that's an all right drink. You can put a few of those away, you know. It's like you have the Stella and stuff. I like a couple of pints on a Sunday, cooking a dinner, a couple of pints, and do a roast dinner and whatever. It's great. You go on the Stellas, you have 3 or 4 of those, you know, you're a bit wobbly, aren't you? I mean, this, not so bad, is it really? You know, lower ABV, and it's not bad at all. I'm going to have another sip now. Wow. Yeah, that's really something. And look at it, it's keeping the head on all the way down. There's hardly a bubble in there, really. I don't know if you can see. There's hardly a bubble in there, and it's like still keeping the head all the way down and lacing the glass. And there's a lot of things about people chatting about washing glasses and cold water. These just go straight through the dishwasher, nothing else, just go straight through. Normal finish, rinse, aid, and they come out looking like that. So I'm happy with that. But wow, what a drink. I can't believe it. That is a time machine. That has transported me back 30 plus years. That is exactly the same as it used to be, and that's what you could get in pubs. Although I think 3 degrees, it might be a little bit colder than it used to be, you know. I'm not sure what they were. I think fridges were about 5 degrees C then, so probably the coolers are about 5 then, so it's probably a little bit warmer, so there might have been a little bit more flavour. But other than that, you used to get bottles. You'd have bottle beers. The only cold beer you get was in bottle, and they didn't even have a fridge. They had a cold shelf, so you had a trough going along with a chilled metal plate in the bottom, and the bottle stood on there, and that's what you had. You have one off the cold shelf, that was it. Or you'd have one off the shelf or one off the cold shelf. And then when fridges came along in pubs, and they had fridges and they're all set at 5 degrees C, they wouldn't go down any further than that because of the environment that they were in. So different now. You get these machines, especially the new Perfect Draft Pro, get that one down, you can knock it down to 0. I'm not quite sure what a 0 degree pint would taste like, but you know, surely like 2 degrees or one degree would be cracking in the summer. But it's a bit chilly this time of year, and I think 3's a little bit low, but you can still taste it, and it's still there. Wow, what a beer, what a beer. Right, I'm going to pour a little bit more into this glass here, because it's a little bit livelier now, look. This is a non-nucleated glass, so the bubbles that are coming up through there are just basically what's come out when you've poured it. That's the carbonation. That one will probably lose its head as it goes down. Not as it matters, not as you'll probably get to see it before the end of this video, because I'm drinking this one, and this one, the bubbles are still there, the head's still on the glass, on the pint, and we've got lacing all down the glass. You couldn't ask for any more than that in a pint, really. You know, yeah, it could do with being a little bit warmer, a little bit more flavour, but I'm happy with it. Wow, I'll certainly be buying it again. I think it's a little bit expensive for what it is, really. It's creeping up towards the price of the more premium lagers, so if you're watching the pennies, you might want to go for something else. You get more bang for your buck elsewhere, wouldn't you? But for something a little bit different, something, I don't know, they call them session drinks now, don't they? We just call them, you know, drink, that was it. You're going for a few beers and that was it. But they call them session drinks. So if you want something a little bit lighter and a little bit different, and the Tennents is all right. And is it the worst one on the system? Believe me, I've paid a lot more money for a lot worse on this system. When my beer tokens come through, I have referral code, which is in the description below. Click that if you're buying one of these machines. Puts a few pounds my way, which I convert into kegs. The kegs get delivered to me, and then I taste test them in front of everybody, and we see what we think. And I'll give my honest opinion. If I don't like it, I don't like it. If I do, I do. So far, the Budweiser is not really a favourite. Summer and it's nice and hot, then it's cold and wet, that'll do. I'll rate this above the Bud, definitely. Bit of flavour. Wow, some gas in it as well. So yeah, but it's all right, you know. It's all right. Right. I'm going to have to end the video there, I think, because as much as I like to talk about it all, I'm actually going to drink all of this and do a bit of reminiscing about old times, because that is great. I'm really chuffed with that. Is it the worst lager? Definitely not. Is it the best? I don't think it's the best either. But is it worthwhile? Yeah, it is. And if you want to tick them all off like me, I've got a little list and I'm working my way through them, ticking them all off as I go. That's definitely one ticked off the list, and I will definitely be buying it again, especially when it comes up in the bulk buy offers, you know, 20% off 6 kegs. It's well worth a shot. Well, there you go. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to pour another one of these. I'll leave that one over there to lose its head. I'm going to pour another one of these, and give me the thumbs up and subscribe if you can, and hopefully I'll catch you on the next one.